All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer, where today we're basically going to play medical detective. Because, let's be honest, we've all been there, or at least we know someone who has, trying to figure out why a nagging, persistent cough just absolutely won't go away. So, we're going to break down the most common reasons for a chronic cough, and we're going to put all the complicated medical jargon aside. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what's happening in your body and, more importantly, exactly what to ask your doctor.
Let's just start by validating a very real, very annoying frustration. I mean, have you ever had a cough that lingers for weeks or maybe even months and you're just left completely without answers? It is literally exhausting. You know the drill. You're lying awake at night staring at the ceiling, you're constantly disrupting meetings, and everyone around you keeps asking if you're contagious. It feels like this giant mystery that nobody can seem to solve. But I promise you are definitely not alone in this, and as we'll see, this mystery almost always has a very clear explanation.
So when does a regular cough turn into a true medical mystery? Well, the mystery officially begins at the 8-week mark. That is the exact number doctors use to classify a cough as chronic. You see, your standard run-of-the-mill cold cough, that usually clears up in a couple of weeks. But if your cough has stuck around for longer than 8 weeks, the medical approach completely shifts. It's no longer just about taking a cough drop to mask the symptom, it's about really digging in and finding the root cause.
Okay, let's open the case file and look at Section 1, the prime suspects, uncovering the most common culprits.
Now, if you're a non-smoker and you've had a totally normal chest x-ray, the investigation into your chronic cough usually narrows down incredibly fast. You might sit there thinking there are hundreds of possible obscure diseases causing your misery, but the reality is actually pretty surprising. Get this, roughly 9 out of 10 chronic coughs come down to just 3 prime suspects. We call them the Big Three. That means your personal medical mystery is highly likely to be something very common and, best of all, highly treatable. Only about 10% of cases fall into that other category. So let's interrogate these top 3 suspects.
Suspect number 1 is postnasal drip. And here is the actual physical mechanic of what's happening. Mucus from your nose or your sinuses is literally dripping down the back of your throat. This constant dripping irritates the tissue there and triggers a persistent cough. You might notice this constant, super annoying need to clear your throat, or maybe a tickly feeling right at the back of it. And the really crucial clue here? It often gets way worse when you lie down to go to sleep. This whole thing can be brought on by seasonal allergies, sinus issues, or honestly, even just simple changes in the weather.
Let's compare that to suspect number 2, which is asthma. Now wait a second, you might be thinking, I don't wheeze, so there is no way I have asthma. Well, actually, not everyone with asthma wheezes. There's a specific presentation called cough variant asthma, where the primary, or sometimes even the only symptom, is a persistent cough. This suspect leaves a very specific set of clues. It tends to strike in waves. It hits the hardest at night, or maybe right after a strenuous workout, or when you step outside and breathe in really cold air. It can also be triggered by dust or being around pets. If your cough seems directly tied to these specific situations, asthma is definitely a prime suspect.
Then we have suspect number 3, and this one is super stealthy. GERD, or acid reflux. This one surprises a lot of people. You probably picture GERD as this intense heartburn, but stomach acid can actually creep back up into your esophagus and irritate your airway, which triggers a cough, even if you never ever feel that classic heartburn burning sensation. So what are the clues for this stealthy suspect? Well, it's usually a cough that flares up right after you eat a meal, when you lie down to sleep, or right when you wake up first thing in the morning. If that matches your pattern, reflux could absolutely be the hidden cause. When you look at these specific clues and the timing of your symptoms side by side, it's pretty cool to see exactly how doctors differentiate them. It's really all about pattern recognition. Does your cough feature a tickle and constant throat clearing? Well, that points straight to postnasal drip. Does it come in waves after a cold morning jog? That points to asthma. Does it predictably happen right after a big dinner? That points to GERD. By simply tracking when you cough, you are literally doing the detective work to crack your own case.
But what if your clues don't match up? Let's move to Section 2, the unusual suspects, looking beyond the Big Three.
If your symptoms don't fit neatly into that 90%, we have to look at that remaining 10% slice of the pie to find out what's really going on. First up in our unusual suspects are atypical infections. We're talking about things like whooping cough or mycoplasma, and these guys are sneaky. They can cause a severe respiratory illness, but then the cough just drags on for weeks and weeks after the initial sickness has passed. You might feel perfectly fine otherwise. Your energy is back, you have no fever, but that cough is still there.
Plus, these specific lingering infections aren't always caught on standard tests. So, a massive clue to give your doctor is simply saying, hey, this all started after a really bad respiratory bug and it just never fully went away. Oh, and here's another really vital, yet often totally overlooked clue: your daily medication routine. There's a specific class of blood pressure drugs called ACE inhibitors, and while they are fantastic for managing blood pressure, they are a notorious, well-known trigger for causing a dry, nagging cough in some people. So, if you happen to start a new blood pressure medication right around the exact time your mystery cough began, that is an essential piece of evidence you absolutely must share with your doctor.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, solving the case and how doctors actually diagnose your cough.
Walking into the doctor's office with a chronic issue can feel kind of intimidating, right? But it shouldn't be, especially once you understand the exact step-by-step logic they use to figure it out. They aren't just guessing. They follow these 4 very methodical steps. Step 1, they rule out the obvious stuff first, like if you smoke or if you're taking an ACE inhibitor. Step 2, they analyze your symptom patterns, just like we did with our big 3. Step 3, they often check a chest x-ray just to ensure the lungs look clear. And step 4, which I actually think is brilliant, is trial treatments. They might prescribe an allergy med, or an inhaler, or a reflux medication based on your clues. This acts as a test and a cure simultaneously. If the reflux med stops the cough, boom, you've diagnosed the problem and treated it all at once.
Now this next part is absolutely crucial. Section 4. When to act fast. Recognizing critical warning signs. Look, most chronic coughs are just, well, they're highly frustrating. But there are certain red flags where you must completely abandon the wait-and-see approach. These are signs of potentially much more serious lung conditions that require immediate professional care. If you experience any of these serious warning signs, like coughing up blood, unexplained weight loss, a fever that simply won't go away, shortness of breath, or a cough that comes on suddenly and severely, this is absolutely not the time for trial allergy meds. You need prompt, immediate medical attention. Do not ignore these red flags.
But honestly, barring those specific red flags, the main takeaway from this explainer is really a message of hope. A persistent, chronic cough is rarely a total mystery without a solution. Usually it traces right back to postnasal drip, asthma, or reflux, with a few infections or meds rounding it out. So empower yourself. Document your clues. Literally write down when the cough happens, what makes it worse, and what medications you take, and bring that list directly to your physician so you can walk through it together.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Your body doesn't just cough for absolutely no reason, right? It's communicating with you. Now that you know the usual suspects, step back and ask yourself, what is your cough trying to tell you? Is it complaining about last night's spicy dinner? Is it reacting to the cold morning air? Listen to the clues your body is giving you. Take that next step to solve your case today. And finally, get some rest. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.